Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, my name is Dr. Himanshu Tyagi and I am teaching this course on heat and mass transfer. Now let us continue with our today's lecture, which is lecture number 10, and it is titled Transient Conduction Part 2. So we will continue where we had left off last time, which was lecture number 9, Transient Conduction Part 1. Before we start today's lecture, let us do a brief recap of what we have done till now. So we have looked at the simplest case of the transient conduction, where we have tried to make sense of the concept of lumped analysis. So this is the concept where the whole body is assumed to be at uniform temperature. So like shown in case B in this particular figure over here, the temperature of the wall would change with time as indicated by this red arrow, but at any given point the temperature is uniform all across the wall. So everywhere we can write that concept mathematically like this. So we wanted to derive the governing equation for that particular concept for the lumped analysis. So we went ahead and did that. So we did the energy balance, we defined the parameter called as the time constant over here, and this will help us determine the different type of exponential decaying temperatures for the cooling case. Once we have obtained the governing equation, we solve it and obtain the temperature as a function of time, which we have obtained over here on the right hand side. Then we also applied the criteria for knowing whether we can actually apply lumped analysis or not. For that we defined the Biot number, and we looked at the criteria that if Biot number is less than 0.1, then lumped analysis can be applied with high level of accuracy. And towards the end of the lecture, we went ahead and did a solved example where we tried to figure out how much time it takes for a particular solid to cool, and then we changed the value of B from B1 to B2 to B3 and looked at different time constants and their effect on the cooling rate. So this is what we have done in the last lecture. What we are going to do is, in part 2 of this particular lecture, we are going to extend the analysis, and we will now assume that lumped analysis may not be applicable in certain cases. For instance, in the case of the wall, the temperature also changes with time as well as with distance. So there are temperature profiles inside the wall. So how do we solve that kind of cases? Because it's a complicated analysis, we will go ahead and use the one dimensional case only. And let me first show the results which we actually obtained by the analytical method. So these results which are given over here, I am just showing them very briefly right now, because we will come back to them once we go ahead and solve it. So for the three different cases, like the first case is the plane wall, this equation is something that we will use, and as can be seen on the title of this slide, these are all known as the one term approximate solution. So we will try and figure out what does that actually mean. So this I just wanted to show very quickly. Of course, later on towards the middle of this lecture, we will come back to this particular slide. So there is no need to hurry over here. Then one term approximate solution, we will continue with the values of these constants. This slide also we will come back in a little while, and then we will look at different type of Heisler charts. So three Heisler charts I will show over here. This first one is for the plane wall, the second one is for the cylindrical geometry, and the third one is for the spherical geometry. So this curve also we will come back in just a little while. This is a very interesting temperature profile, and this one I have plotted with the help of a calculation software known as Scilab. So this is something I will illustrate, that there are some numerical methods also which we can use to solve such complicated unsteady or transient case conditions. So I will make help of finite difference method, and similar numerical methods, and that will be done in the next lecture. So, subsequent lectures we will look into that. So, today's lecture I wanted to start very simple, because ultimately it will turn out to be have lot of complex terms. So, whenever we have to deal with complex concepts, let us begin them in very simple way. So, the simplest way we can look at transient heat conduction is one dimensional transient heat conduction, and that too in the plane wall. So, this is the simplest case. So, let us start today's lecture with this simple case over here, and let us take the case that we have a plane wall and we are assuming it to be one dimensional heat transfer. So, this is the mid plane section over here. I will also draw the x axis, and let us try and consider the case where initially the wall throughout was at some temperature Ti. On both sides of the wall it is surrounded with air at temperature T infinity, and the heat transfer coefficient H. On this side also it is the same. So, we can apply the symmetry boundary condition, because the solution will always be symmetrical, and we have taken it in such a way that our air is much colder than the wall's initial temperature. So, Ti is much greater than T infinity. So, in this particular case, if we subject a wall to convective cooling on both sides, what is going to happen is symmetrically its temperature is going to fall. If it were a lumped analysis case, then the temperature throughout the wall would be uniform and it will just reduce gradually. Here we are not going to assume the lumped analysis case, which means in this particular case our Biot number is not going to be less than 0.1, it is going to be much greater than 0.1. So, this is the case that we are going to consider over here. So, I might draw it approximately. How might the temperature profile look like? So, ultimately the temperature may go and settle after long period of time at this particular point where everything is at T infinity, because if we submerged a solid in a very cold liquid, so eventually that solid after infinite amount of time everywhere its temperature will be equal to that of the liquid. Initially what will happen is that the sides will start cooling like this. After some time the temperature may look something like this. So, what I am trying to draw, even though my drawing is not very good, is that everything is symmetrical on both sides. And if I show the progression of temperature, I can show it very easily over progression of time, the time goes like this, right. In this particular case, what I have taken is that the total width of the wall is taken as 2L, which allows us to take the half width of the wall as L. So, this is x equals to 0 point and this is x equals to L over here, and this we have taken just for our convenience. And this is something, if I go back just one slide back and just try to remember what I have drawn over here as the temperature profile, I will just circle this whole thing. You just keep it in mind what we have drawn over here, and then we try and see how does the numerical solution for the same thing looks like. So, this is a code which I have written in Scilab, and here again the initial conditions we have taken that the wall throughout is at 40 degrees centigrade. So, this is the initial temperature of the wall that I am drawing with light blue color over here, and with progression of time. So, this is how time progresses over here. So, this is the actual solution of this particular problem which I was trying to do approximately over there. So, with the help of numerical tools, this is one of the information I wanted to share today, that we will be able to get very interesting and very accurate solutions, and let us try and see how do we reach that particular point. So, our goal today is to figure out what are the difficulties in the analytical solution, and then we will be motivated to go for higher order numerical solution. So, because it is a 1D transient heat conduction equation, I can write the general equation like this. This is something which we have done 2 or 3 lectures back. So, this is our governing heat conduction equation for one dimension. So, there is the energy generation term as well as this is the energy generation term as well as the unsteady or the transient term over here. Let me apply a couple of assumptions in order to simplify this particular equation. The first assumption I am going to apply is that it is a one dimensional equation. Second, I will assume that there is no energy generation taking place, and the third condition that I will apply is that there are constant thermal properties. In other words, I am going to assume that their variation in temperature for K, rho, Cp, etc. is very negligible. So, if I apply these three assumptions, can I simplify this equation little bit more? So, the answer is yes, because the K will actually come out of the differential equation. So, I can write it like this: E dot gen will become 0 because there is no energy generation taking place. So, this simply becomes rho C del T by del T. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to make use of thermal diffusivity alpha. So, if you remember 2 lectures back, we have defined alpha as K over rho Cp, and the units for this is meter squares per second. So, this is thermal diffusivity. So, if I do that substitution, what I will get is del square T by del x square is simply 1 by alpha del T by del T. So, this I will write over here with the border is my governing equation. Now, just by knowing the governing equation, I can't really solve it, because we can see it is second order in space, because there is a term del square T by del x square, and it is first order in time because there is del T by del T. We need 2 boundary conditions and 1 initial condition. So, in this particular case, if I ask the students, what do you think are the appropriate boundary conditions that we can apply over here? So, what are the 2 boundary conditions that we need to apply in this particular case? Let us go ahead and figure those out. What about at x equals to 0, which means at this particular point, do we know that for all these curves what should be the boundary condition? Then we can say, because of symmetry, on both sides, I can take that the mid plane wall is kind of an adiabatic condition, which means del T by del x has to be 0 at all times over here. So, this statement I will write in terms of mathematics like this: del T by del x at x equals to 0, but for all times is equals to 0. So, this is my first boundary condition. In words, this essentially says that the slope of temperature at the mid plane will always be 0. So, it cannot be increasing or decreasing at x equals to 0. Second boundary condition, let me apply at x equals to L. So, over here I can make use of the energy balance, that Q dot conduction will always be equal to Q dot convection. So, what is the value of Q dot conduction at x equals to L? So, it is simply minus K del T by del x for x equals to L and for all times is equal to, so instead of heat I am taking the heat flux. So, area I am dividing on both sides is the temperature difference between the last point over here, which means this particular point. This is defined as x equals to L and for all times. I will write T over here and subtract it with T infinity. So, this is my second boundary condition over here. So, first boundary condition is simple. This is the mid plane symmetry boundary condition, and the second boundary condition is also very simple. It is simply that Q dot conduction at the last point is equals to Q dot convection. It is simply energy balance we are doing at the interface. So, I think these things we also remember from 2 or 3 lectures back, where we looked at different type of boundary conditions and we also looked at initial condition. So now let me go ahead and write that one initial condition that we need in order to solve this problem. So let me write the full form over here as well. These are boundary condition. And one we need initial condition. And this we can clearly see from this diagram over here that we have ourselves defined that the whole plane wall was at some temperature Ti initially. So how do I write this statement in terms of mathematics? So I say throughout the wall, which means all x at time t equals to 0 is simply some constant over here Ti. So this is my initial condition over here. So if I can use maybe the orange color pen now and then highlight my 4 important equations. So this is the governing equation that I want to solve. So I want to summarize what we want to actually do. This is our objective function. We want to solve it. And what we will get by solving it is something like this. Either we will get it numerically or the same thing we will get through the Heisler chart for plane wall. So in fact, we will solve this particular problem 3 times, first numerically, second with the Heisler chart over here, and third one with this particular one term approximate solution, that how will we get the value of temperature as a function of time. So ultimately what we are trying to calculate finally is we want to solve this governing equation, because ultimately I want to find out T x comma t. So this is something I want to find out. This is my objective function. I am doing all this long exercise. Please keep it in mind, because we will do it for the next 2 or 3 slides. We will continue to do this. It's very important to keep it in mind. Why are we doing all these calculations? So please have little patience. So this governing equation I want to solve keeping these 2 boundary conditions in mind. This is my boundary condition 1, BC1, and this is my boundary condition 2. This is BC2. And also keeping the initial condition in mind. So this is my IC1. So these are the very important 4 equations that will be used to figure out simply what is temperature as a function of distance, what is the spatial distribution of temperature as a function of time. So I am repeating it just because this is the most important thing that we want to do. Now in order to solve this particular equation, if you go back over here, this is a very complicated equation. In order to solve it, we will not be able to solve it fully, because it requires some advanced level mathematics, which is beyond the scope of this particular course. What I am going to do is I am just going to show the procedure in which it will be solved. So first step involved in this particular thing is that we will non-dimensionalize this equation. So we have written 4 equations. So let us go ahead and non-dimensionalize these 4 equations. So what does non-dimensionalizing mean? So any parameter which has a particular unit, I want to put it in terms of a fraction. For instance, if I know that spatial dimension is x, in this particular case I will draw it over here. So this is my plane wall, and here x is defined in this particular direction. Maybe I want to non-dimensionalize with the help of this half width L, because the total width of the wall I have taken as 2L, the half width I have taken as L. So I can define a new parameter capital X, which I can say is small x divided by L. So what will be the units over here? This will be x in meters, length in meters, both cancel out. So capital X will be unitless, that I can write with a dash over there. Now how do I make sense of this particular thing? Let me use some color over here. Let us assume the value of L was 1 meter, if L was 1 meter. Okay. So if I am standing at this particular point originally, so if somebody had called me earlier that where were you, I could have told him that I am standing at x equals to 1 meter. But if I want to communicate the same thing to that person in non-dimensionalized form, I will say I am at capital X equals to this divided by this. I will say I am at capital X equals to 1. That's it. I won't tell him any units. Let me give another example. Let us say I have not reached at the point 1 and I am somewhere in middle over here, and this value is 0.5. So, I want to communicate to another person that I am standing at x equals to 0.5 meter. What I am going to say over there is, instead of telling that, I will say I am standing at capital X equals to, I will say capital X equals to 0.5. It is kind of like when we all obtain marks, I can always tell to my friends or to my parents that I obtained, let us say 10 marks out of 20, or I can always non-dimensionalize it and say I got 50% marks. So, it is as simple as concept as that. So, this is just the first parameter that I have non-dimensionalized over here. So, let me write it again. The first parameter I will non-dimensionalize is the distance x. The second parameter I will non-dimensionalize is the value convective heat transfer coefficient, and the good thing is this we have already done in last lecture, and it turns out I can non-dimensionalize it simply by writing Biot number. So, I can convert it into this over here, because the length L is a constant, K is the thermal conductivity of the wall, that is also a constant. So, I simply divide H with the ratio K by L, then I write it as Biot number. So, this is non-dimensionalized heat transfer coefficient. The third thing I am going to do is I am going to non-dimensionalize time. So, usually time is given in terms of seconds. Over here we will non-dimensionalize it in terms of tau. So, what we are going to use is we will use it to multiply alpha, which is also a constant material property, divided by L square, and interestingly this parameter is also given by this number over here FO. I will write it like this, and this is defined as the Fourier number. So, this is the same Fourier person whose conduction law we have studied in chapter 1, Fourier's law of conduction. And finally, the most important one, I am going to non-dimensionalize temperature. Remember, earlier temperature used to be given, let me write over here, temperature was something which is simple, it is simply T as a function of distance and time, that is it. So, what I am going to do is, let us see, if I divide it by this difference over here, so in the numerator I put it like this, and the denominator I put it like this. Then I think students can see everything will get cancelled out in terms of units. So, we have degree centigrade divided by degree centigrade. So, what we get is something like this. So, this is the first step that we have taken over here. We have gone ahead and non-dimensionalized most of the parameters which are important over here. So, after a few lectures we are going to study convective heat transfer. There we are going to look at velocities. So, just I can, for just out of sake of interest, over there we can non-dimensionalize velocity as well. So, if there, let us say some velocity is taking place, but I know the mean stream velocity is u infinity. So, I can non-dimensionalize it like this. So, I will say u star is simply actual velocity u, which is in meters per second, divided by the free stream velocity u infinity. I can divide it like that. So, these things we will keep on doing, and similarly v star I can also non-dimensionalize like this. So, actual velocity v divided by the free stream velocity cap v infinity. So, these are some very interesting things that we are able to achieve, and this non-dimensionalization is a very powerful tool. Just like converting marks into percentage, then you can be uniform across all the different boards and states and years. And similarly, non-dimensionalization helps us figure out that where does the physical phenomena take place, in which zone it takes place, and Reynolds number is one of the best ways in which people have used that particular application. So, this was the first step, that we have non-dimensionalized these particular 4 parameters. Next, what we want to do is, you remember these 4 yellow equations that we have shown over here, the governing equation BC1 and 2 and IC. Let us go ahead and try and see, can we non-dimensionalize them as well. So, that would be a very interesting exercise, but it is going to take 2 or 3 slides. So, just bear with me, because it is a little lengthy process, and I am going to explain it in detail, so that that process is actually illustrated to the students. So, over here the first step that I am going to write is, I want to non-dimensionalize the main equation, which is the governing equation. So, I will write it as step 1. that I want to non-dimensionalize the governing equation. So, let me first write down the governing equation was this, del square t del x square equals to 1 by alpha del t by del t. And let me go ahead and write the final answer, that after non-dimensionalizing, what will I get? It will simply become del square theta del capital X square is equals to del theta del tau. So, this is the final result that we are going to get. So, it will be del theta divided over del tau. Maybe I will write it slightly better over here. So, this is del tau. Now, the question is, how did we jump from this equation from the dimensional form into the non-dimensional form? So, it is slightly long procedure. Let me go ahead and do that, because it is very interesting. Once we learn the concept in a slightly slow way, we will be able to figure out how to do it many times on our own. So, how do we start? So, the hint is that we will use all these 4 non-dimensionalized factors over here. I am going to make use of capital X, Biot number, tau as well as theta. So, how do I start? So, the first way that I will start is, maybe I will use this 4th equation over here. I will use this equation for theta. Now, because already I have del square t by del x square. So, from my point of view, let us forget this thing for a moment. So, let us forget it. Do not pay attention to the final answer. We are having more familiarity with temperature. So, let me write this equation over here that I am putting with the black star. Let me write this equation again over here, but I will expand it in terms of T. So, if I put T on the left hand side, what will I get on the right hand side? So, the first term will be theta capital X and tau multiplied by the denominator, which is simply T I minus T infinity plus T infinity, right. Now, how do I convert this into this form over here? So, which means I have to take a double differential with x. So, if I know temperature as a function of x, how do I calculate del square t del x square? First I do the differential once, I will get del t by del x, then I have to do the differential once again, I will get del square t by del x square. Let me go ahead and do that. So, if I do the first differential, I will get del t by del x, which will be, this last term is a constant, this is a multiplier over here. So, I will get a multiplier over here, and this one I will get is capital X tau by del x. I hope this makes sense, because theta is a function of capital X, which itself is a function of small x. So, I can't take it outside that particular differential. It is not a constant, it varies with x. So, it is very interesting. Now, how do I convert this del x in the bottom? I am talking about this del x. Can I convert it into let us say del capital X? I will do that in just a while, but let me take now the second differential. So, I will differentiate it once again. So, if I differentiate the left hand side, what do I get? Del square t del x square, constant will remain as it is, and this thing becomes del square theta and del x. I am just not writing these bracket functions over here. I am not writing them again and again, because this thing we already know that theta is always a function of capital X and tau. Now, we are getting somewhere, sorry, I missed a square over here. So, it is del square theta by del x square. Now, the same question comes, can I replace this del square x with del capital X? I think I can do that. How? Let me take a differential of this equation also. So, I am now going on the left hand side of the screen and let me differentiate it. So, I will just request the student, have little patience. I am taking long time over here, but we will get very beautiful result. So, if I take a differential over here, what do I get? Del x by del small x is 1 by L, right. Now this equation tells me that maybe I can go over here and write it in this form. So numerator remains like this, and then denominator becomes x into L, and then the square over there. Now this L is a constant, which means I can perhaps take it outside this particular bracket. Let me go ahead and do that. So what I get over here is, this was already a constant over here, L square also I take outside. I take outside L square. So what I get is del square theta by del x square, and my left hand side was del square t del small x square. Now I think we are made good progress, because if I link these two together, let me go ahead and see over here if I can draw these dotted lines over here. Now this left hand side over here, we have figured out this is my left hand side over here. Wonderful. So I have in some way non-dimensionalized the left hand side. Can you see that? Very nice. Now let me go ahead and non-dimensionalize the right hand side as well. Okay. For that I will move to the next slide. So what I want to non-dimensionalize, I will write again over here. I want to non-dimensionalize del t by del t. So again I remember that original equation over here. This was my original equation, which says the temperature is a function of theta. So if I take a partial derivative with respect to time for this equation, what will I get? Last term is just a constant, it will become 0. This is just a multiplier, so I will get this thing. So let me go ahead and write that over here. So what I will get is over something like this, T I minus T infinity, right, multiplied by del theta by del t. Okay. So far so good. Now what I am going to use is this particular relationship I am going to use, because t I want to convert into tau. So from this particular relationship I can say that t is essentially over here tau L square by alpha. So I can get t is essentially tau L square by alpha, right. So let me go ahead and substitute this thing over here. How did I get this relationship? This is simply the definition of Fourier's number. So I am just writing it from previous slide. So don't get confused. It is something just I have just pulled up from the previous slide. So this thing I am going to incorporate in the denominator. So what I get over here is something like, should be del theta divided by del, instead of time it is del tau L square by alpha. Now the only thing which is a variable in this bracket over here is tau. So tau is the only variable, which means this I can't take outside, but rest of the things I can always take outside. So let me go ahead and do that. So if I take them outside, what I will get is alpha by L square into T I minus T infinity del t by del tau. So I have converted dt by dt into a function of del theta by del tau. So if I write it as equation B and I go back over here and call it equation A, right. So A equation is the non-dimensionalization of the left hand side, equation B is the non-dimensionalization of the right hand side. This is my governing equation. So now let me go ahead and substitute A and B into my governing equation. So let me rewrite my governing equation was this. So I will draw a line over here. Del square t by del x square is equals to 1 by alpha del t by del t. Now how did I non-dimensionalize this thing? I got T I minus T infinity by L square del square theta by del x square is equals to this first term over here 1 by alpha multiplied by this thing over here, equation B. So equation B gives me alpha by L square T I minus T infinity into del theta by del tau. So this is what I got over here. Now I think many of the students must be seeing that there are a lot of cancellations that can take place. So let us go ahead and do that. So alpha gets cancelled with this alpha, L square gets cancelled over here, this whole thing in bracket gets cancelled over here. So what is it that I have left remaining is del square theta del x square is equal to del theta by del tau. So this is my non-dimensionalized, I can write it at ND, non-dimensionalized governing equation, GE. So just for saving some space, I am writing it in abbreviations, but remember GE stands for governing equation and ND is non-dimensionalized form. So let us go back and just see this particular equation we had already written over here. So instead of cross, now let me put a tick mark over here. The del square theta by del x square equals to del theta by del tau. This is my governing equation. So wonderful thing we have done is non-dimensionalize our governing equation. Now let us go ahead and non-dimensionalize our boundary condition. Now in the interest of time, let me do it in fewer steps than this, but because I spent more time over here, just I was doing it first time to illustrate the concept. Now we can go ahead little bit faster, and the first boundary condition that we have written earlier was that the symmetry boundary condition, that del t at x equals to 0 and at all time by del x, the slope is 0. Now if we do the non-dimensionalization for this, how will we do it? Again we will have to put for capital T in function in terms of theta, then small x we will put in terms of capital X. So what we get in turn over here is something like this. So we will end up getting del theta, this is 0 comma tau divided by del x is 0. Then boundary condition number 2, which we remember was slightly long equation minus k del t at L comma t divided by del x is equals to h t L comma t minus t infinity. This thing if we non-dimensionalize, what we get is something like this. So it becomes simply theta, L becomes 1, t becomes tau, and this is del x. And then h becomes Biot number over here, and this t difference is simply theta at tau over here. So this is my boundary condition number 2. Finally, we can non-dimensionalize the initial condition as well. So the initial condition that we have written earlier was x at time 0 throughout temperature is Ti. And if we non-dimensionalize it, it simply becomes x comma 0 is equals to 1. So just see how beautiful these 4 non-dimensionalized equations turned out to be. So let me put a star over here, a red star, that these are the 4 non-dimensionalized equations that we had wanted to use, and solving these equations will give us the solution to these 4 actual one governing equation and the 3 conditions, so 2 boundary condition and 1 initial condition. So finally by solving them we will get t as a function of x and t. Now as I mentioned earlier, because this is part of advanced level course, I will not be performing that full solution over here, but what I will just do is introduce the students to the solution of this particular thing in the approximate form. So keep it in mind that we are finding out the value of theta as a function of capital X and tau. Now let us go back to the beginning of today's lecture, where I had shown some equations over here. So it so turns out that the one term approximate solution, so this solution is slightly approximate because it only works for this Fourier number. So you remember tau was the Fourier number. So Fourier number is kind of non-dimensionalized time. So essentially it is telling us that after particular number of seconds, which instead of giving the second value, it is giving it in non-dimensionalized form, that when tau is sufficiently large, greater than 0.2, then in order to find the theta of the wall over here, so theta of the wall means the non-dimensionalized temperature of the wall, which is simply this particular ratio, is given by this particular expression over here. So in this particular expression we can see the distance variable x over here. So, we have x in this particular equation, and we also have time tau over here. So, this is essentially the solution that we were looking for. In non-dimensionalized form, this particular equation highlighted in green and red color over here, it is simply the solution of temperature inside the particular wall at different distances and different times. So, the question comes is, what are these two constants A1 and lambda 1? If you go to the next slide over here, these will tell us that, let us say for the first case, we are considering the plane wall case, all we need to do is figure out the value of the Biot number over here. So, if in the case of the problem our Biot number, let us say, turns out to be 2, then from this particular table we find out the value of lambda 1 and the value of A1 from here. So, let us go ahead and do a solved example which will help us understand this concept. So, the first solution that we will use in this solved example is this one term approximate solution. The second one, we will use the Heisler chart. So, Heisler chart also presents the same information, like you can see on the y axis over here. So, though it is little bit rotated, the orientation is kind of rotated, but if you see it in a tilted way, you can see that this is giving us the non-dimensionalized temperature theta. So, this is essentially theta as a function of x and tau, right, and that tau is Fourier number is given on the x axis over here, and this whole plot is at lot of different values of Biot number. So, instead of Biot number, Heisler chart is plotted for inverse of Biot number, which is kind of the same thing. So, once we know the Biot number for the problem, either we can use the one step solution, one step approximate, one term approximate solution, we can use the Heisler chart, second method, or my favorite, the third method is we can actually use some sort of a finite difference method code, which is kind of a numerical method, and solve it ourselves over here. So, this solution we will just look at in a few slides after coming back over here, and sometimes the best illustration is with the help of a solved example. So, let us try and go ahead and do this particular solved example. So, this particular solved example was inspired by one experience I had is, if you leave some objects outside in the summer months, then they are very hot. Then you bring them inside, let us say you are sitting in the air conditioned room, then their temperature slowly gradually drops. So, you are interested in figuring out that how much time it takes for it to drop from a particular point to a particular point. In my case, what I found is I had left some books or some notebooks outside in the hot environment. They were very hot, so I was interested in knowing that when you bring inside in this room, let us say which is air conditioned, how fast would the temperature drop. So, that is the motivation behind it. So, I am trying to draw a notebook which is shown like this over here. So, it has a particular length, a particular width, and a particular thickness, and because the dimensions are such that the thickness is much less than the length and the width, we can go ahead and apply the one dimensional approximation over here. So, that is the problem I want to illustrate over here. So, let me pick some dimensions. So, this is the length of this particular notebook, this is the width, and this small over here is the thickness, which I will refer as I will refer as 2 into L. So, I am going to assume that the double width is twice into length. This is just one simple way of actually writing it over here. So, I will assume certain conditions that outside when the book was kept, it was at outside condition was 40 degrees centigrade. When I bring it inside the room temperature inside, I will write as T infinity is 20 degrees, and I want to find the time, how much time it takes for the book to reach a final temperature at the midpoint, TF midpoint of about 25 degrees centigrade. So, I am not going to apply the Biot's the lumped analysis over here. We will see the reason for that in just a little while, and also I am going to assume that the convective heat transfer is in this particular case around 1000 watts per meter square. Okay. So, I am going to make one or two more assumptions about the material of this book. So, I am going to assume that all the thermal properties of this book are exactly same as that of paper, because book is predominantly composed of paper. So, that value I have obtained from literature. So, I will note them down over here. So, thermal conductivity of paper is actually very low, density is also relatively low, 900. Specific heat I will found from literature is about this. So, I have also obtained the value of alpha, because K over rho Cp. If you do with a calculator, it turns out to be 1.7 into 10 to the power minus 7, and the units are meter square per second. So, what I am going to do is I am going to find this particular solution, and the solution is we want to find how much time it takes for the center of the book at the mid plane to go from 40 degrees to 25 degrees. So, essentially I will consider it a one dimension conduction problem, in which I will draw the mid plane like this. X axis we will consider over here, and the half width we will take as L, and I think I did not put the numbers over here. So, let me go ahead and put some numbers over there as well. So, the dimensions I am writing over here for a typical book. Height, let me start with the height. Sorry, over here I made a small mistake. This would be the height of the book, capital H. So, let me write it over here. The height I am taking as 20 centimeters, which is 0.2 meter. The width I am taking as half, 10 centimeter, which is 0.1 meter. And the thickness of the book, which is twice into L, I am taking as 2 centimeters, which means the half length is about 1 centimeter, which is about 0.101 meter. And that is this particular length over here. This length is 1 centimeter, the half thickness. So, I am going to use three methods to solve this particular solution, to find the solution. One is the one term approximation. Second one, I will use the Heisler chart. And the third one is I have prepared a program or a code using finite difference method. So, it is a numerical technique which I will write as 1D transient state, and I will use something called the implicit scheme. Do not worry if it does not make sense, because this is numerical method is something that we are going to consider in detail in the next 2 or 3 lectures. So, let us just focus on method number 1, which is the one term approximation. So, the first step in that method is we have to calculate the Biot number for this particular problem. Now, because the thickness of this particular book is much smaller than its length and width, I am going to assume that the predominant direction of heat transfer in this particular case is across the thickness of the book over here. So, the half thickness L, that will determine the characteristic length of Biot number over here, which means this characteristic length I will take LC equals to L, which is 1 centimeter over here. So, I am put a circle over here, that this is the characteristic length that we are taking as LC. Now, I have the value of H, I have the value of K. I can calculate this thing is 100 into 0.01 meter divided by K value is 0.2. So, Biot number turns out to be a large number 50, which means lumped analysis cannot be applied. And this we had kind of hinted at the beginning as well, which means now let us go to the one term approximation solution. So, I hope till this point everything is clear. So, I will skip back a few slides, which means I want to go over here, and now I want to apply this particular equation over here. So, this will give me the solution that I am actually looking for. The two constants that I need, I will find out from here, A1 and lambda 1. So, if I go to the next slide over here, in my case Biot number now we have calculated is equals to 5, which means my lambda 1 I can take as 1.31 and A1 I can take as 1.24, right. I hope this particular point is clear to the students. So, I go back to my solution over there. Sorry for skipping it around a little bit, and I will write those values over here. I will say that from the table we get that for Biot number is equals to 50, lambda 1 turns out to be 1.31 and A1 turns out to be 1.24. Now, I can go ahead and solve for time. How can I do that? Let me apply that equation, which was theta wall is equals to Tx minus T infinity divided by Ti minus T infinity is simply A1 e raised power minus lambda 1 square tau into this thing into cos of lambda 1 x by L. So, what are the variables I am going to put over here? The first thing I am going to write is that x is equals to 0, because I want to find out the temperature at the mid plane point. That was my objective, that I want to find at what time the temperature at mid plane point has become 25 degrees. So, in my calculation x is equals to 0, length value is already it is known that this is this much, tau value is unknown because this is what I am figuring out. In fact, tau I can write is alpha T by L square. So, this is something I am figuring out. A1 and lambda 1 value we have already figured out. Let us write these values as well. What are these values over here? So, the first one over here is Tx comma T, this is 25 degrees in my particular case, because this is the final temperature at x equals to 0 that I want to achieve. So, I want to find out how much time it takes to achieve 25 degrees. What is T infinity in my case? 20 degrees. T initial, so the whole book was at 40 degrees and T infinity again 20 degrees. So, this is something I have on the left hand side, and on the right hand side over here A1 value is 1.24 exponential minus lambda 1 is 1.31 whole square into tau, and because x equals to 0, this whole cos term turns out to be 1. So, over here this equation is very simple and straightforward. It is a one simple equation with one variable. I will write it in red color over here. So, the only variable here is tau. So, that full calculation I will not show. Let me go ahead and write the result for tau. Tau turns out to be 0.933, and using this relationship over here, because I know the value of length and I know the value of alpha, time value also I have figured out, it turns out to be 550 seconds. So, this is the solution that I have obtained by using method number 1. I hope this particular point is clear, because this is very straightforward actually, one variable equation with one unknown. So, I think students will be able to solve it very nicely. Let me go ahead and use the second method now. So, method number 2, which was the Heisler chart. So, again in the Heisler chart, first step is that we have to calculate the value of Biot number, that we have already calculated was 5, and Heisler chart also wants us to figure out the inverse of the Biot number. So, it turns out to be 0.2, and it also wants us to calculate the value of theta naught, which is simply T naught minus T infinity divided by T I minus T infinity over here, and this one we have already done earlier. You will remember that T naught was 25 degree, this is 20, this is this. So, they will simply turn out to be 0.25. Please remember these two numbers are very important for us. So, let me highlight it in red. 1 by Biot is 0.2 and theta naught is 0.25. With these two things we will fit in our memory for just 1 or 2 minutes. Now, we go back to the Heisler chart over here, and the one we will consider is the plane wall. So, I will write those values which I have in our memory. 1 by Biot was 0.2 and theta naught value was 0.25. So, what Heisler chart says is that it will make life very simple. All we need to do is follow the x axis and the y axis over here, which means the x axis tells me that Biot 1 by Biot over here, this is 1 by Biot. So, these numbers I am considering over here. So, I am trying to find 0.2 over here. So, I can find 0.2 over here, and then I am looking for that Fourier number, which means I have to search on this x axis over here, for which theta naught value should be 0.25, which means theta naught will be very high over here. So, from this we jump to this inset curve over here, which means theta naught is somewhere over here. You can see, right, this is 0.2 and 0.3. So this particular blue point, it represents, I'll put arrow over here, this represents theta naught equals to 0.25, okay, and these numbers are 1 by Biot number, all these numbers which are given over here. So our 1 by Biot is 0.2, which is very small. So you can see this is between 0.1 and 0.3. So our 0.2 line is somewhere over here. So let me draw it in blue color over here. So we are going over here. Oh, we have to stop for a little while. Let me stop it here. Why we will stop at this point? Because this is the point at which my theta naught is the value where that I was looking for. Are you getting the point? So in the particular chart or figure, we are just looking for a particular value over here, particular value over, wherever they intersect, that value we will note down, okay. So I think this is very straightforward. So this point I will circle, and what we wanted to figure out was, our unknown was the x-axis. Over x-axis I will interpolate over here. So it is little bit less than 1. So I will say this is almost like 0.95. Are you able to see over here? I think so. So this is the final answer that we have got, that in our case the book, how it, at what time temperature it becomes 25 degree. So remember, the tau value is 0.95. We go back, and over here we find from Heisler chart, we get, for these two conditions which I have highlighted in green, we get tau value is 0.95, which means t value I can figure out using tau equals to alpha t by L square. So from here we can get t value, and it turns out to be, for this particular value, 560 seconds. Now in physics or in nature, nature gives us this freedom that we can calculate a particular value from different ways, but all should have the same answer if all of them are correct, right? Now let us look at the previous case. Here answer was 550 seconds, and here answer is 560. Very good accuracy we are getting, very close, because Heisler chart is having little bit more uncertainty. So one term approximate solution I will trust little bit more. So life is becoming very interesting, because different methods are giving us same answer. So there is a very high probability that we are on the right track over here. And the method number 3 I was telling is the finite difference method. So this numerical technique code I have written, and this one I will discuss in the next lectures. But the solution for that code I have plotted already over here. So I would request the students to pay little bit attention over here. So if you see in this particular curve, this is the x-axis, x-axis is from here. So this is the mid plane. So from here, if I write x-axis over here, so you can see this length, because it is starting from 0.01, so going to 0.02, over here length will turn out to be 0.01 meter, which is what we are looking for. Initial condition 40 degrees. So throughout the book is at 40 degree. I will put it with dotted red over here. So these are different curves which have been drawn according to different time. So if you notice over here, the last time is showing like this. So our book is having this particular temperature after a certain amount of time, and this, according to the FDM code value we are getting, is about 559 seconds. Which means I will go back over there and write that value over here. So you can see this thing is about 25 degrees over here. So this solution tells us that at what time the temperature at the mid plane is 25 degrees, which is what we wanted to figure out. So method 3 gives me time value is 559 seconds. So which method is best? I think all methods are actually good from one to another, but the important thing to keep in mind is try and revise as many methods as possible. And in today's world, with lot of high power computation being available at very low cost, I think numerical method is taking up a lot of speed, which is why next few lectures I will spend on numerical method. I will talk about finite difference method and so on. So with that, I thank all the students, and I hope to see you in the next lectures. Thank you.